wasting away again in Margaritaville. Searching for
Hey, just living in Margaritaville here, living the easy life, right? Just like you want to be, right? You know, we're here to talk about stress. Well, all right, let's talk about stress. Well, let me show you something here. How do you relieve stress? I'll talk about that here in a second, but little ice, right? You know, the number one reason that plumbers are stressful. Too much ice, huh? Let's talk about that. Is this business supposed to be so stressful? Find that about 74, 75, 76% of plumbers, they think it's too stressful. They're saying things like, shouldn't it be easier? I mean, shouldn't I be just sitting there on the beach with my margarita maker? Shouldn't I? Isn't there an easier way to live this? I mean, isn't that why we got into this business? Isn't that why we followed our dads into the business, things like that? So I want to talk about why this is so stressful, okay? Meanwhile, let me get the machine ready, right? Put in a little mix, sweeten to taste. You won't see any alcohol on this film because this is a family film. Okay, now add the ice. Ooh, more on that in a minute. But let's talk about the reasons that plumbing is so stressful. Number one, I've actually got more than one reason. So number one, the glass ceiling. Okay? What does that mean? Whether you're time and material or whether you're flat rate. We get to a certain level and it's hard to tell the customers that our labor rate is this high. It's like there's a glass ceiling. We can only go so high, and then it's a problem. Who is it a problem for? The customer? No. For me. Stress. What should we do? We go to flat rate. Then, is there a glass ceiling on flat rate? Well, our billable hour creeps up and up and up. We keep raising that flat rate. And so now when we're telling the customer, even though we're telling him up front, it's going to be X amount of dollars to repair the sink, repair the water heater. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's just a lot. Is that their problem? Is it stress on them? Well, yeah, but they've got the option. They can throw us out of the house. So there's a glass ceiling, whether it's time and material or flat rate, your price just gets too high. We can justify, we can tell ourselves all the reasons why it's okay for that price to be high, but if it's too high, they start sending us out of the house. Plus our technicians start rebelling. If it's too high, it's too high. So there's a glass ceiling. Because the higher it goes, the harder it is to sell to the customer. The better the technician you have to sell. So there's a problem there. But that's number one. I call it the glass ceiling. Number two, flat rate pricing. You say flat rate pricing is the problem? Well, yeah, but let's be honest. We went to flat rate pricing to solve the glass ceiling problem in time and material. But hey, I went to flat rate pricing when I was charging $35 an hour labor. So when I printed my first flat rate books at like $55 or $65 an hour back in 1995, 96, I thought, wow, this is great. And I got a diagnostic charge, so I solved my problem. And the customer had no resistance. Then I started spending money trying to find the better technicians. You know the story. My overhead, my costs kept going up and up and up. How many of you out there are still working off a $55 billable hour? Pretty hard to do, right? In reality, many of you are way, way above that. You put that into your flat rate book, and it becomes a problem. Well, I already talked about the glass ceiling. So, what am I saying about flat rate pricing? When we went to flat rate pricing, we started speeding up all the operations in our company, didn't we? Nobody was looking over our shoulder on time, so we started demanding faster and faster service calls. Dispatchers wanted to clear their board. Call takers were taking more calls. Advertising and marketing were pushing more because it looked like everything was making money and working. You know the story. I don't think I have to go into that, and I've got a lot of videos on YouTube about that. but everything was speeding up. And when we speed up, is it fair to say that we're not taking the time to really do a great job? We're really not. So flat rate pricing in itself solved some problems, forced us into a speedy, stressful mode, forced our technicians into a stressful mode. Now we're on their back. Get done, go to the next call. Get done, get done. That's what I hear from technicians. So we're no longer concerned with how long we're on the call. So just maybe, we're actually letting service slip. Remember, we're supposed to be a service company. Now, do you know why there's stress? Because we keep calling ourselves service company, and then our people are pushing the technicians. Service push, service push. Something there doesn't work. It's okay to mix some things, and I'll show you in a second. But we can't mix that. So that becomes a problem. But we're talking about stress, right? So I want to bring some solutions. Now, number 3, I think I'm on 3, our industry and our customer has changed. You're experts, you're professionals, so you know how the industry's changed. And it kind of has a lot to do with what I just said about flat rate causing us to push. What about the customer? Just in the last 10 years, I know I don't have to belabor this point, the internet, smartphones, iPads, and just think where they're going to be in 5 more years. That's almost too far to think. That's scary. You see, right now, they'll Google you so fast. I mean, you can. I used to say this. Before you can go out to the truck, they'll Google you. It's worse than that now, isn't it? Boy, they'll Google you while they're standing there. So that's stress. We got to take that out of the mix. Number 4, people don't want to be sold. This isn't new, but they hate it. They're being sold all the time. You sit down after supper to watch the game and the phone rings. Don't you hate it? People hate to be sold. And if your technicians, if you're pushing them to go into the house and try to sell something, they're trying to do something that is going to create resistance. The customer hates that. That pushes them to all of their searching devices, their laptops, their iPads, Facebook, Google, Amazon, YouTube, you know all that. Plus, look at how much work it is for the fast 5 or 10 years, how much focus has been on training techs to sell. That's stressful because that's not in their DNA. That's not in their core value. It's a difficult thing. So look at the stress of trying to go find those perfect technicians that already know how to sell. Come on. Does that person really exist, or is that person to you? I heard a consultant say the other day, you can't clone yourself. Quit trying to clone yourself. That was you, now you're a business owner. If you clone yourself, what are you cloning? Business owners. Okay, there's good news. Ready for some good news? Ready for... Wouldn't business be great? To me that sounds like vacation, doesn't it? That sounds like vacation. Okay, here's the good news. And it goes with how people have matriculated. The good news is, whatever that word means, that even though they hate to be sold, they love to buy. We are in a nation of shoppers. People just absolutely love to buy, don't they? We've all got gadgets and stuff we love to buy. So, how does that affect my stress and your stress? What if I just give them something to buy and you don't have to sell? Think about that now. Just think about it. Stress. Wait. What if we could give them something to buy without having to sell it to them? You know, almost like back to just give them a catalog. Remember when we started in flat rate, we just lay the book on the counter and they could almost sort of choose because our prices were low. So how do we let them buy without trying to sell them something? We do it with choices. You see, our research and the research of Fortune 500 companies like Sears, Ford, Toyota, Samsung, and even Home Depot, they've proven that given a choice, your customers will buy more. How often will they buy more? From your technicians. If they're not trying to sell them and if there's a way for them to have a choice. How about 80% of the time they'll buy more? Think about that. 80% of the time. Watch. See, this isn't a... Look, The stress just leaves me when I hear that. But you think, oh, he just drinks margaritas. No, I don't. But I love the sound of a vacation. I love it to be on a beach. Seriously, if 80% of the time my customers would buy more, if there was a way to do that, what would that do to your stress? Well, let's just see. You tell me. I mean, what would that do? So here's what would reduce the stress besides the margarita maker. Number one, no more high-priced repairs to stress out the homeowners. When we show them the choices, their mind doesn't see high-priced repairs. Number two, no more stressful selling for the tech. What would that do to the technician if you took that stress away from them so they could just be themselves? How about this? No more Googling or shopping for a better price. Wow. No more management trying to get techs to sell. Some of you might be thinking, this doesn't make sense, Rodney. How can you do that? Well, let's see. Number five, how about this? Would this be a stress reducer? A whole lot more money coming in every day. I mean, what? If 80% of the people are going to buy more, wouldn't that be a lot more money? I mean, a lot more money? All right, the new flat rate. It satisfies the secret shopper in your customer. It satisfies that thing that wants to buy. It's choices that sell, so your techs don't have to. So, why? By the way, this will do this automatically, but I like to do it. Look at that. So I got to ask you, lime, margarita, or peach? What do you want? Seriously, if you want to reduce stress, seriously, I can help you. I really, really can. Give me a call, and then you can spend your time doing this. Rodney Cope here for the new flat rate.